Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Buckle up, because this story doesn't start with a red flag. It starts with a receipt. Not even a full receipt. Just a crumpled corner of it. Torn. Smudged with what looked like lip gloss and some kind of glitter. It was poking out from the bathroom trash bin under a pile of cotton rounds and an empty dry shampoo bottle. I wasn't snooping. I was refilling the toilet paper. But that torn paper had just enough information to rip open my world. Room 412 to 2 guests, 2 nights, Sycamore Lodge Spa. There was no anniversary, no girls' trip, no event. She told me she was going to her friend's lake house. She even gave me the address, showed it to me on Google Maps, said they'd be doing a social media detox and sound baths. Sound baths. I should have known right there. She left Friday at noon. She kissed me, but it was the kind of kiss you give your cousin at a barbecue. Then she said, "Please don't text me unless it's an emergency. I need to disconnect, okay?" It didn't feel like a request. It felt like a boundary, like she was gently shoving me behind a glass wall for the weekend. So I didn't text. I didn't call. I gave her the space she asked for. Instead, I cleaned the house. I vacuumed the upstairs rugs and reorganized the spice cabinet. I even scrubbed the grout in the kitchen because I thought, maybe if everything's perfect, she'll come home happy and stay and love me again. I didn't expect to find evidence in the trash. I didn't expect to Google Sycamore Lodge and see luxury suites with private jacuzzis and rose petal turn-downs. And I definitely didn't expect to see her car in the background of someone's Instagram story, posted by a man, in a robe, tagging, #weekendreset, #she said yes. She said yes? I swear I stopped breathing for a few seconds. I stared at the screen like it would morph into something else if I blinked hard enough. But it didn't. It was her. My wife. Her smile sideways. Her hand blurred in motion. I'd been waiting for her to come back home. But in that moment, something shifted. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I labeled it Exit. The folder wasn't just a name. It was a line I never thought I'd cross. For years, I had let things slide. Excuses. Cold shoulders. Girls' nights that turned into mornings. But after finding that receipt and seeing her tagged in some shirtless yoga guy's Instagram story, I realized this wasn't a rough patch. This was a carefully choreographed escape plan. One where I was the fool standing still while she danced away. I didn't know what to do first. My hands hovered over the keyboard like I was defusing a bomb. I didn't even know what I was making this folder for. But I knew I had to start collecting something. Anything that would keep me grounded. The truth, maybe. My truth. I started with screenshots. Her text from earlier that week. "Love you, babe. Don't forget to water the snake plant." The way she said that, as if everything was normal. As if she wasn't packing lingerie and betrayal into a weekend bag. Then I downloaded the video from the yoga guy's story. It wasn't easy, but I figured it out. Froze the frame. Zoomed in. There was no mistaking her bracelet. A silver cuff I gave her for our anniversary. She once told me she'd never take it off. She lied. Just like she lied about everything else. The worst part? I still wanted her to walk back through the door and say it was all a mistake. That I had imagined it. That she'd just bumped into him and he posted it as a joke. My mind made up scenarios where she was innocent, even with all the proof screaming in my face. I didn't eat dinner that night. I sat in the living room, lights off, watching the front door like it might apologize. At some point, I started typing. A letter. Not to her, but to me. To the version of myself that still thought love meant waiting. I wrote down every memory I didn't trust anymore. Every laugh that felt fake. Every moment where I was too blind to see the shift. I didn't cry. Not yet. That would come later. But I knew something for sure. When she came back, she wouldn't be walking into the same home. And I wouldn't be the same man. She came back late Sunday night. I heard the tires on the gravel before I saw the headlights sweep across the living room walls. My heart didn't pound. It just sank. Like something heavy had finally accepted the ocean floor. I stayed in the kitchen, seated at the table, lights off, phone on the counter, staring at nothing. I didn't want to see her. I wanted to watch her see me. Or rather, the version of me she didn't expect. The front door opened with the same breezy hum she always used when pretending everything was fine. I could hear her shoes drop to the floor, her keys hit the hook, and then her voice. "Babe?" She called out, cheerful. Casual. Like she hadn't just vanished for a weekend of lies and stolen moments. I didn't respond. She stepped into the hallway, then into the kitchen, where the only light came from the glow of my laptop screen. Her smile faded as she saw the table, neat, deliberate, surgical. On it were the printed screenshots, the receipt fragment, and the letter. I didn't speak. Not right away. I just slid the chair back and stood. Her first reaction wasn't guilt. It was confusion, then fear. Like someone who's realized the house they broke into wasn't empty after all. What is this?" she asked, voice shaky. "You tell me," I said, pointing to the Instagram screenshot. "Tell me who Lyndon is. Tell me what she said yes means." She didn't answer. Her eyes darted to the door, to the table, to me. She looked like a cornered animal, trying to calculate escape routes. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just said, "You had a choice. You chose a weekend. I chose to be done waiting." That's when she broke. Not in tears. Fallon didn't cry easily. But her face collapsed in a way I'd never seen before. A mix of shame, panic, and the sudden realization that the man she always thought would chase after her had stopped running. "You don't understand, Merritt," she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to mean anything. It meant enough for you to lie," I said. "Enough to plan it. Enough to hide it." And then I stepped past her. Quiet. Final. She didn't follow. I didn't take a bag. I didn't even take a jacket. I walked out with just my phone, my wallet, and this strange buzzing in my ears that made everything feel dreamlike and hollow. The air was sharp, like the whole night was trying to slap me awake. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house another minute. Not with her in it. Not with the scent of her perfume still hanging in the doorway like a taunt. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. The kind with sticky booths and a jukebox that hadn't worked since the 90s. I slid into a corner booth, ordered coffee I wouldn't drink, and stared out the window, wondering how many other people had run away to that same exact booth before me. The waitress called me Han and asked if I wanted pie. I almost laughed. I told her I was just trying to remember who I was before someone turned me into a ghost in my own life. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. One new message. From Fallon. "I'm sorry. Please don't do anything reckless. Can we talk tomorrow?" I didn't reply. I didn't even open it all the way. I just stared at the notification and thought about how quickly her confidence had shattered when faced with consequences. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. Scared that I didn't react the way she expected. Scared that I wasn't begging. At 2:25 a.m., I got another message. This time from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, I'm sorry you had to find out like this. I thought she told you." No name. But I knew who it was. Lyndon. I froze. The anger didn't come like a fire. It came like ice, slow, creeping, numbing. I didn't respond. But my mind spiraled. Told me what? What had she promised him? That I was okay with it? That we were open? That I was some pathetic background character while they played out their romantic subplot? I left the diner around 3 a.m. and drove to my brother's place on the other side of town. I didn't call first. He answered in boxers and a confused face. But when he saw mine, he didn't ask questions. He just opened the door. I didn't sleep. I lay on his couch staring at the ceiling, heart hollow, brain spinning. Fallon was probably crying into a pillow, rehearsing apologies, or worse, texting him. But it didn't matter anymore, because I wasn't the man who waited anymore. And tomorrow, she'd see just how much that meant. By the time the sun rose, I was still wide awake. The couch cushion beneath me had lost its shape hours ago, and my body was stiff, but my mind wouldn't stop replaying the night before, her expression when she saw the evidence, the messages, the silence. My brother, Mason, walked into the living room rubbing sleep from his eyes and tossed me a hoodie without saying a word. I was grateful, not for the warmth, but for not having to explain. Around 7:15 a.m., my phone rang. Not a text this time. A call. Fallon. I let it ring. She tried again 5 minutes later. Then again. On the fourth try, I answered, mostly to stop the noise. "Where are you?" she asked, voice tight. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She was demanding. Like I had broken the rules. Like my leaving was the betrayal. "You saw the folder," I said flatly. "You know why. I didn't mean to hurt you," she muttered. "You booked a room with another man and told me you were going off-grid. You lied to my face and asked me to water the houseplants while you disappeared into someone else's arms. So yeah, Fallon, you meant it." She was quiet for too long. Then, "I just needed space." You're You've been distant. You're not the same anymore. I actually laughed. No, I'm not. But that doesn't give you a hall pass to cheat. She tried to say something else, but I hung up. Not out of spite. I just had nothing left to say. Every conversation with her felt like trying to explain basic math to someone insisting 2 plus 2 equals whatever they feel it should be. And then came the message I didn't expect. It wasn't from Fallon or even from Lyndon. It was from her mom. Call me. She's here. She's falling apart. Says she made a mistake. Don't walk away without at least a conversation. For a moment, I felt this flicker of old instinct. That maybe this was a test. That maybe I was supposed to forgive her. That maybe love meant fighting through even this. But that flicker died the second I remembered the look in her eyes when she left for her weekend experience. She wasn't torn then. She was glowing. Excited. Now she was falling apart because I was no longer there to carry the weight for her. I texted her mom back 2 words. She chose. It was just after 10 a.m. when Mason peeked out the front window and said, "You're not going to like this." I didn't even need to ask. I already knew. Fallon had found me. I could feel her presence before I saw her, like the air had changed. He opened the door halfway and muttered, "She's not alone." I stood up slowly. My stomach twisted, not out of fear, but out of disgust. Fallon stood on the porch in jeans and a hoodie like she was trying to look humble, smaller than usual. But what hit me hard, harder than I expected, was that Lyndon was standing behind her, hands in his pockets, looking like a teenager caught shoplifting. She had brought him. To me. To where I was hiding. To the house I went to so I wouldn't have to see either of them. I almost closed the door right there, but my brother didn't move. Fallon's eyes welled up instantly. "Merritt, please. I need you to just hear me out." "Hear you out?" I snapped. "You brought him here? Are you serious right now?" Lyndon stepped forward, but I pointed at him. "No, you don't speak. Not a word." He stopped like he'd hit an invisible wall. "Good. I told her I didn't want to be part of this," he mumbled anyway, eyes dropping. "Then why are you on my porch?" Fallon's voice cracked. "Because I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I thought if you saw him, if you heard the truth, you'd understand it wasn't what you think." "Fallon, I saw you. I saw the reservation, the video, the texts. What else is there to understand? That you lied with a smile and came back expecting me to wait like some loyal idiot?" Her lips trembled. I ended it with him. "Last night, I told him it was a mistake." I stared at her for a long moment, trying to figure out if that was supposed to impress me. She waited until the thrill wore off, until the fantasy cracked, and then she ended it? That wasn't love. That was damage control. "I don't want your apology," I said. "I want distance. I want space. The kind you pretended you needed when you left." Fallon reached into her bag and pulled out a piece of paper. Her hand shook as she held it toward me. "It's from my therapist," she said. "I've been seeing someone for months. I never told you. I've been lost, Merritt. And I thought if I pushed hard enough, you'd finally see me." I took the paper without looking at it. I wasn't sure what made me angrier, the fact that she'd been unraveling silently, or the fact that she used her unraveling to excuse betrayal. "You should go," I said quietly. "Both of you." Fallon nodded slowly. For once, she didn't fight it. They walked off the porch in silence. But something in me knew this wasn't over. I thought that would be the end of it. That once she walked off Mason's porch, hand trembling, eyes full of regret, I could finally exhale. But that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just sit in your memory. It claws. It loops. It makes you second-guess everything, even your anger. It was 2 days later. I was still crashing on my brother's couch, trying to pretend like the ceiling fan spinning above my head meant progress. Then her name popped up on my screen again. This time, not a call. Not a text. An email. The subject line, "You deserve the truth, even if you hate me after." I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it. I don't know what I expected, a last-ditch apology? A digital goodbye? But what I got wasn't that. She started by admitting everything. That the trip had been planned for weeks. That she'd told her friends I was emotionally checked out, and that Lyndon was just an outlet. Her words, an outlet. Like I was a dead socket in the wall, and she needed to plug into someone else for a spark. But then came the part one wasn't ready for. She had taken a pregnancy test, and it was positive. Not weeks ago. That morning. Her message went quiet after that line. She didn't say whose it was. She didn't say what she was going to do. She just left it there like a grenade with the pin pulled. I sat there in silence for I don't know how long. My coffee had gone cold. My fingers had gone numb. The idea that all of this, the betrayal, the apology, the confrontation, was just the prelude to something even more permanent, more life-altering, made my skin crawl. A baby. And now I had no idea if I was mourning a marriage or preparing for the messiest tie that could ever bind two people who had fallen apart. I didn't reply to the email. Not yet. But that night, I found myself standing outside our house. Our house. The one we built together. I didn't go inside. I just stood on the sidewalk, staring at the light in the bedroom window. She was home. Alone, I think. And for the first time in this entire unraveling, I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. I didn't go inside that night. I just stood there for nearly an hour, watching the shadows move behind the blinds. My heart was thudding, not from love, not from anger, just uncertainty. I wasn't the same man who begged for scraps of affection. I was tired. But I also knew that if what she wrote in that email was true, the story wasn't over, not completely. The next morning, I called her. Not to argue, not to accuse, just to talk. We met at a park, neutral ground. She looked tired, makeup-free, wearing the same hoodie from Mason's porch. Fallon didn't try to hug me. She just sat down on the bench and quietly said, "I'm not going to beg. I know I wrecked everything." I asked her one question. "Is it mine?" She didn't hesitate. "I don't know, but I want it to be." That sentence landed harder than I expected. Because as much as I wanted to walk away, there was still a part of me clinging to the idea of a future that wasn't completely broken. A part of me that wasn't ready to define my entire life by what she did during one awful weekend. So I made a decision, not for her, and not even for the baby. For myself. I told her we needed time apart. Real space. No contact. I said if the baby was mine, I'd be there. As a father, not a doormat. I wasn't moving back in, and we weren't getting back together. But I didn't hate her. I couldn't. Not anymore. Hating her meant I was still emotionally owned by what she did. And I wanted something else. Peace. Weeks passed. The test came back. The baby was mine. And strange as it sounds, that's what saved me. Not the betrayal. Not the confrontation. But the choice to move forward without dragging the past behind me like a dead weight. I co-parent now. We've found a rhythm. I have my own place, and slowly, very slowly, I'm learning how to trust myself again. Not her. Me. Because at the end of it all, the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was finally choosing myself. Now it's your turn. Have you ever forgiven someone, but walked away anyway? Or chosen peace over payback? Drop your story in the comments. Subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more raw and unforgettable stories just like this.